year. Indeed, there were suggestions from Chris Whitty yesterday, winter. Maybe we'll actually have to reimpose some of the restrictions, and although we have got therapeutic drugs coming on stream, those are only for treating people once they've got coronavirus. So one of the great paradoxes is after all this time, we still have not been able to answer that very, very basic question, which is, what is our exit strategy? And at the moment, we don't have a clear exit strategy.
Thank you very much, Norman. We're going to discuss that more actually with our next guest, but just to remind you that Prime Minister's Questions is coming up at midday. We'll have coverage of that if you want to watch that. Well, let's get more on the analysis of the changes that lie ahead and the expectations of where we might go with Dr. Zubaydah Haq. She is from the Independent Sage. It's an independent group of scientists providing advice with the purpose of helping the UK navigate COVID.
They put a doctor on who's going to spin the lies, but they won't put a doctor on who's against it, telling you the absolute truth, will they?
Extraordinary that the government are going ahead with this exit from lockdown, because actually it's not an exit. There is no strategy in place. It's extraordinary that the government are saying that they are doing it slowly by reducing the 2 metre social distancing to 1 metre, when actually that's not halving of social distancing. That's not a gradual exit. That is basically just returning to normal. And we know that's returning to normal because when people stand with each other during normal circumstances, they tend to be only a metre apart. And not only do they tend to be only a metre apart, they tend to lean in when they're talking, they tend to sort of gesticulate, lean in and, you know, raise their voices and touch each other more. So essentially, we are returning to normal circumstances.
So just to come in there, because when
you know what?
Returning to normal,
thinking about it, she could be right on that.
1 metre plus. It should be
because government want it become you return to normal, but they made so much of a fuck up.
Perspex screens,
they're fooling you.
Other measures to ensure protection.
By telling you the 1 metre.
This is the problem with the government's announcements.
That you're still in the lockdown to some degree, but you're not. She could be right actually on that.
And all the public want, what the public want is to know that we are exiting lockdown when it is safe. Now the reality is there is no scaffolding of test, tracing and isolate programme in place, and that public health scaffolding is essential. The government promised us that on the 1st of June. We still don't have that, which is why it's reckless to go, which is why it's reckless to have this exit strategy. On top of that, Joanna, there are no clear guidance for government. It's not good from government. It's not good enough to say just wear a mask. We know just wearing a mask isn't enough guidance. We know this at Independent Sage, and we've been much more descriptive about how you wear a mask, what you do with a mask.
So what would you do? Because I mean, what Boris Johnson.
Don't you hate when they interrupt and when someone's in full flow of talking?
Guidance now. It's not about legislation. We're not going.
Because they'll never get back to what they were discussing when they get back to talking.
How would you do it? What do you want?
Well, just because the government says that, it doesn't mean that that's what's going to happen, and that's because, once again, there's a lack of guidance. Now, if we are going to go ahead with exit from lockdown, and we do understand at Independent Sage that there is a real keenness to return, you know, to get the economy going. But people have been bouncing off the walls during lockdown. We do understand that. But if that's going to go ahead, then in the first instance, the most fundamental thing is to have an effective, locally based test, tracing and isolate program in place. Because until we have that, we won't be able to manage any outbreaks, we won't be able to suppress the virus, and we can have a second wave.
Suppress the people.
Crucial. And right now,
don't forget to say that.
The long grass by government. So that's really crucial. The second thing is if you are going to open up the economy, then open up the economy and have exit from lockdown. Think about the places where you can minimise the spread of virus.
Dr. Zubaydah Haq, thank you. We have to leave it there. Thank you very much. We need to say
we have to leave it there.
Watching on BBC Two. Bye bye. See you soon.
Frightened of her getting into a bit of a raw nerve there or something, were they?
In the most recent edition of...
Tell you so, we've seen no rise in this virus, have we? I was only talking to a mate last night who I haven't seen for a few weeks, and he said, tell me, who have you seen who's had this virus. Have you seen, do you know anybody? I said, no, nobody. I said, it isn't true what they're telling us. I said, I honestly think that there is no virus. And he believed the same thing. Yeah, I'm beginning to think that when we come out of this, these pubs and stuff like that start opening, some are just not going to go along with it. And when people have had quite a few pints, do you think you're going to go along with it? You know, people when they've had plenty of drink, you're going to forget about the bloody 2 metre, well, the 1 metre which they're being reduced down to, aren't you? If it's too bad for me, like, you know, the measures are too deep beyond what I can accept, I won't be going out for a pint, and it's just as simple as that. I won't be able to cope with all the dictating to and do this, do that, you're not doing this. I won't bother going out. Fuck it. I'll see what happens, won't we? Oh, what they're on about now anyway, yeah.
Or a haircut. This morning, the government publishes pages and pages of regulations you'll have to follow to enjoy those freedoms.
Only thing that paper's good for is wiping your arse
The
on.
last of the regular press conferences, but is the time right to exit this phase of our response to the virus?
In terms of the way that we reopen the economy, there's been looking at the balance of the risks that are out there, and that's why we're doing all of this in a very cautious way.
Balance of the risk.
Can the
What
unlocking
risk?
stop businesses from going under?
Really, as an industry, we need the furlough scheme to see us through to next spring.
That's the government's big issue now.
I believe the government is trying to do the right thing. And in that,
What a
we will
prick.
support
He believes government's been doing the right thing.
Lockdown
was wrong from day one.
At PMQs, we'll bring you that live at noon. Well, it's not happening quite yet, and people are being urged to be careful, but lots of new freedoms are coming in England very soon. We're not quite back to normal.
God,
but
don't you hate the sound of it all? It's like you're literally treated like cattle, aren't you?
And colour. There's too much grey.
And all these people here, they all smiling, you know.
Yes, I do have some sympathy.
And there's no joy in this.
Let's
There's
have
never
a look
been
at
no
the
joy in
Chancellor's
it.
tweet, Rishi Sunak, very clear what he wants to do. I can't wait to get back to the pub, and I don't even drink. Good news for business today, and glad we'll all have a chance to enjoy
I can't wait to
the
get
summer
back to the
safely.
pub.
Aisha, what's top of your
Fake glamorising.
I'm afraid it's got to be the hairdresser. I've already had some passion.
You could walk into any fucking pub and get away with it. They're above the law, these people who work in government.
High up on the waiting list.
I've already seen that.
Big waiting list, and I can't jump the queue, so I'm quite upset about that.
Well, all I can say is you don't look too bad from here. Bernard, what are you looking forward to doing?
Well, I mean, holding a pint with a few friends sounds a good idea, but also sitting down at a table outside a restaurant, that would be a nice thing to do, wouldn't it?
What about you?
Doesn't it show?
It's got very long.
I'm afraid
It's got very long.
it hasn't been this long since the 1970s, so definitely the hairdresser. But I'm really looking forward eventually to seeing my little granddaughter. And I haven't seen her. She's 12 weeks old today, and she's up in Nottingham, and I'm just desperate to see her.
I'm not surprised. Well,
Yeah, that's appalling, that, isn't it? That people haven't been able to see the
let's talk to
grandkids and fathers haven't been able to see their own kids. I mean, what a bloody world are we living in when you're being told you can't see your kids, you know?
In a pub, or if you go to
Yeah, people just smile like that guy just.
It's going to vary quite a lot because a lot
Like
of the
he's nothing,
guidelines
water
say
off a
things
duck's
like
back.
should or encourage, and if possible. So I think it might vary depending on where you go. When it comes to the pub, though, if you're outside, you'll be able to go with 5 other people in a group of 6. If you're going to be inside, it will have to be with 1 other household maximum. There is no more what they call vertical drinking. In other words, standing up. You will have to sit at a table. It's quite likely you won't be able to go to the bar, and you'll be served by somebody coming to your table, and there will be some things missing.
Yeah, we know what that's all about, people.
It says don't have any loud music because that will encourage people to talk very loudly.
Oh my
or get a bit
fucking
too
lord.
Rowdy. And then when it comes to going to the hairdressers, there will be no sitting in the waiting area reading a copy of Vogue from last year. You just have to go in, sit down. There'll be a minimum of talking between you and the hairdresser.
Music will make you rowdy.
Really be wearing.
Oh my! Can you hear this bullshit, man?
If you go to a posh salon.
Right. And
This just makes me fucking angry. I want to just punch him in the fucking head.
Seeing his granddaughter.
I'm livid with the shit. It makes you fucking angry inside. That they're spinning you this fucking garbage.
Now, because you can already have this thing called a support bubble, where two.
Shove your fucking support bubble up your arse, you, Johnson, and the fucking lot of you. You fucking bunch of evil pieces of fucking dog shit.
So that two individual households can meet up indoors and even stay overnight if they want, but it can only be two households at a time. Although having said that, you can then, one household can leave and another one.
Well, there's no partying. There's no partying, is there?
Change for people seeing each other face to face. The government still wants.
You can't have music loud in case you get too rowdy.
So keeping a big gap.
It's a crime to get rowdy.
Read the documents that are provided.
Because if the music goes up, you might blurt out a few little particles of coronavirus, a few extra ones where someone might get seriously ill and drop dead right in front of you.
What about everywhere else in the
Can you believe this bullshit? Well, you've got to believe it. You've just fucking seen it.
It's almost impossible to summarise, but broadly speaking, Scotland and Wales have not gone as quickly.
And that piece of fucking dog turd there on fucking telly
although Nicola Sturgeon, First Minister,
just spoke about it like it's just the norm.
Very shortly, we think.
Without even, you know, without looking in, think about what's just been said.
Reasons. But as I said, it is a
It's beyond your imagination. You couldn't even thought it up, could you?
You just have to go on the website of the local.
But these fucking morons do. These dickheads what are inventing it all.
A bit more from Nicola Sturgeon, the first.
Keeping you all docile, in fear.
Camilla, you've written this morning that once again the public are being.
You've still got fear of the virus. I'll tell you fucking why. Because they'll fucking bring the second wave.
Well, I think, like Adam said,
don't want you relapsing your fear. They want you kept in fear, kept dumb, kept docile.
But they don't have to do so. So lots of people interpret this guidance as.
I think the second wave's going to come, I do, because they've been banging on about it, and they're still going on about it.
So he wants people to be out there, going to the high street, going on holiday. I think he said that tourists should show some guts. But at the same time, I think
before I started recording, they were saying somewhere it had a rise in a second spike.
For somebody my age, and that's why again. This guidance is only
fuck it.
Also, it's moved from
Don't think I'll be going out for a beer. I'm not gonna put up with them sort of fucking stupid, pathetic rules.
Some of the guidance seems a bit cumbersome.
Shove your rules up your fucking arsehole.
But not in a leisure centre. You can have your hair done, but not your nails. And this.
Yeah, that you can have your hair done, but not your nails.
Theatres opening, but without live performances, I think are probably confusing quite a few people. So. Yeah, of course, as has ever been the case, it's going to be up to the public.
What do people go out for when you go out in a pub? You want the music beyond. Crank it up, listen to the music, enjoy yourself, have a bit of a disco in a party.
Of the pandemic, I think one of the reasons why the lockdown.
Why don't we all just go in? Why don't the issue is all with fucking headphones or something when we go in? Wouldn't that be a good idea? Yeah. Give us all fucking headphones. That way we won't talk to each other neither. We'll just look at each other's faces and lip read or something.
Also, just today, speaking on the hairdressing front, some hairdressers are confused about whether you can use a hairdryer because that will blow around a lot of particles and the hairdresser I go to.
I don't know why I bother turning this telly on, truly. It just fucking makes me fucking blood boil. It really does.
To come. So there's still a lot of unanswered.
I could round all these bunch of cunts up,
that the government's very
stick them in a room and fucking shoot the lot of them
into action because it employs so many people. It's very important to get the economy going. But that's only going to work if people have confidence.
Well, that's what they need doing to them.
Fear of missing out. But a lot of people, including myself, by the way, have FOGO, which is fear of going out.
Stick them all on a decommissioning ship, send them out in the ocean and sink the bastard.
At that press conference, and they were making it very clear, lockdown may be over, but the virus has not died, it's not burnt itself out. and there's a huge swathe of the population.
Oh, you're right there. The virus hasn't died.
Had it. So it's
Mentally, what you keep drilling in people's minds through the TV, you don't want it died here.
Or you're more first.
Just keep driving it through to the masses.
As Adam said, it's very patchy across the whole of the country. If you live near a border with Wales or Scotland, it's going to be quite tough if your business feels crossing the border.
Right, is there too much responsibility being put on people's shoulders here?
I've seen her debating with a lot of people earlier, and she's a fucking evil piece of shit.
Voluntary compliance with the lockdown and appealing to people's common sense.
There you are.
Actually respecting people.
There you are, look. Voluntary compliance. Voluntary.
Necessary risks.
Listen careful to that. Voluntary compliance.
There is not a risk that one or two...
You're only voluntary complying when you're a sheep. I don't voluntarily comply because I know what's going on.
Nobody except one person, but that one person could pass it on to 30 people. So
listen,
to prevent these super spreader events. Now, meeting outside is much safer than meeting inside.
But you can meet inside, see?
Well, in limited numbers, because the chance of passing on the virus inside is much more than outside.
Is it the right time to trust the public with all this information?
How many of these brain dead sheep will understand that what you just said in the full depth of voluntary compliance?
The information itself.
If these people have done that from day one.
And I think one of the real problems that there has been.
Locking yourselves in your home, voluntary compliance.
Well, the guidance say.
Applauding the NHS, voluntary compliance.
Because there has been, over a long period of time, differing
grassing your neighbours up, voluntary compliance,
coming through, and the government hasn't
policing yourself.
I think there has been a loss of trust, and trust is really important in enabling.
All you people out there who are awake, you've seen it all, and I no doubt it's blown your mind as much as it's blown mine.
And I'll get on with it. And of course, we do.
What you've actually witnessed and seen in society.
Doing that is actually to have
what you've never seen before. And you've witnessed the true horror of society,
I'd far rather seeing it hovering just below
of how asleep people truly are and brain dead
businesses are going to have to be mindful of
to follow what they've been told down to the T.
They are under a legal obligation, or at least a civil legal obligation, to do things safely. It's not just they're insurers.
Like I've said before,
we're not going to insure you if you're being...
what that on your doorstep job was at 8 o'clock every Thursday was nothing short of a psychological mind control operation. And that's what I truly believe what that was. Psychological mind control.
It's been locked down because people haven't been going to the health service. How many lives are being lost because of the mental health damage? What about the domestic violence in people's homes? There are other balancing factors, which means that overall we have to make a judgment.
Lives versus lives.
That's absolutely right. But as I say, the best way to ensure that the economy does take off and not go into see a second spike that then closes everything down again is to get the infection rate down. And
hence second spike.
We should have been driving that down a lot further, a lot faster, and then because we know that the easing measures are going to take it up, we're told, by 0.2 or 0.3.
We know. We know. They hold the crystal ball, these people, don't they?
Then you know that every 2 or 3 weeks
they know everything.
The number of infections.
Without doubt, they know everything.
Down in the right direction.
Well, let's talk about the scientists. Boris Johnson's always said we're following the science, but the scientists yesterday at that press conference, what did you make of their tone, Camilla?
Well, I think they're always going to be erring on the side of caution more than the average politician, and certainly a Prime Minister who we know, it was no secret that the person imposed the lockdown measures. He was reluctant about it because he's a lifelong libertarian. But of course, the scientists aren't solely concerned with Britain's economic recovery. They're thinking about science all the time and perhaps the other factors. I think Johnson did list some statistics yesterday which were encouraging in the sense that infections are down 70% since the beginning of May. It was also an interesting line that he said...
Infections are down, infection never went up.
Peak, although not that much
She's been fucking sleeping.
As to why that was. But clearly, as Bernard says, there is this sense of balancing lives versus lives. The idea that the NHS is currently working at 40% capacity with regard to non-corona...
We all know that they've been fraudulently putting COVID patients on
this programme who will
death certificates and testing people, putting people as positive and getting bonuses for it, extra payment.
Long-term recovery or
she's going on about
next year.
it going up.
Remember, it's very important to note. I know everyone's.
She won't mention that it's gone up fraudulently, though, will she?
As a day of celebration and Independence Day, but remember, a lot of lives have been.
It's just lies every time, isn't it?
Government's estimates 42,000.
Suppression of truth.
As high as 65,000. Every one of those are tragedy. People not being able to say goodbye to their loved ones. So I think it's very glib to just say, "Oh, this is about lives and the economy." And of course, a healthy economy needs a healthy society, and we all want to get things moving again.
Yeah, and the best way to destroy a fucking society is put us in lockdown, isn't it, I suppose?
But people do need to have confidence.
That's it, yeah.
For them
in fact,
to go back out again.
People coming out of this are getting back to work and all the rest of it with your head fucked up from nearly 4 months worth of lockdown.
It's pretty hard for people if we have to go back into lockdown.
Well, it certainly played with my fucking sanity, I can tell you that.
It's because they were late into lockdown. I hope they're not overcompensating by going.
My head's been up, down, fucking every bend, fucking turn.
Than is sensible.
As you can fucking think of.
This approach, this cautious approach, very carefully. But
is it a cautious approach?
Yeah, I think it is a cautious approach. There are many people, including people on the Telegraph today, for example, saying that the idea of a second peak is it's not happening anywhere else in the world. Why should it happen here? I think we have to be cautious about that. Bear in mind.
Why should it happen here? Well, to control the masses.
Damaging.
And find out again for the second time how people will comply.
And the lesson from the
like complete sheep and complete idiots.
In America is that the cities that tried to open up too early actually suffered worse economic damage.
Let's play the game a second time and see if the masses accept it.
Is entirely justified.
Well, do you think it's too soon? I mean, do you think would you? Like
yeah, should we give it another go? That's what they're saying in government.
I would like to have seen it tighter earlier, so that when we come out,
let's just double check, see if the masses are still fucking brain dead.
So it is too soon. It is too soon.
Now that we're where we are, and we have to accept that, I think what is really necessary is to have much more antibody testing, so we get a really impressive sense of exactly where the infection is and has been in the community. And that's what I'm concerned about. That hasn't been rolled out nearly as effectively.
Because we haven't got a reliable antibody test. Well, we thought we had one, and it turned out we didn't have one.
No, that's not true, actually. We have both the Abbott and the Roche test, and we've also got the SNIDE test. All three of those tests, two of which the PHE have validated, but they've tried to control that within PHE. But the Public Health England, that is.
Right. He's virtually just called that other guy a liar.
Much wider antibody testing, we will get a far better sense of exactly where we are on the way in which this disease is moving through the population.
It's interesting because Keir Starmer, the Labour leader, has said that he welcomes the thrust of the Prime Minister's announcement, and that actually the Labour Party is going to support this raft of relaxation. Are you unhappy about that or reluctant about that?
I think Keir chose his words, as he always does, very carefully, and he said, "We believe that the government is trying to do the right thing, and in that we will support them."
Right.
So he recognised that the
well, they're all a bunch of fucking fools then if they think that, if they believe the government's doing the right thing.
The science will say some things, the politics.
The average Joe blogs in public like me can believe that the government's doing and done the wrong thing. So how come I can see a completely different opinion?
And
that's because those in power all piss out of the same pot.
We're supporting them, but it does not mean that we resile all right to criticise where we think they're getting it wrong.
Because actually there are a lot of people on your side who would say that actually the Labour leader does need to be a little more critical about what the government is doing. Let's just show our viewers and our guests this tweet. It's from Richard Bergen originally, the Labour MP, saying, "Today I asked the Prime Minister why, when his government's many failures have already led to tens of thousands of needless deaths, he's gambling with people's lives by lifting restrictions before it is safe to do so."
Oh, well, listen to that.
Says, people in health
Richard Bergen, MP.
Do you agree with them?
Bergen.
As I've said, I think this is a
Gambling with people's lives, lifting it too soon.
And that's why government is not...
What planet has that guy even been living on?
That the government is trying
How are you gambling with people's lives? Isn't nearly 4 months enough evidence to see if there's a true virus out there? And we've seen nothing.
We need to say,
and he says we're gambling with people's lives.
Constructively, because it goes back to what I said.
We've seen the evidence.
If the public sees politicians bickering about these things,
let's just go back to completely normal and forget about this bullshit. And let's see if there's a true spike.
Labour versus Tory.
And if they were honest enough,
it's about winning for the British public.
We'd see that there'll be nothing.
Where needed.
Let Bernard respond before I go back.
It was easy to roll out masses of antibody tests. The government wouldn't do it. Of course they would do it. It's very easy for you to say, oh, there should be more antibody testing. Well, I should imagine the government's doing everything they can to do is the maximum of antibody testing, don't you?
As I say, Bernard, I don't want to get into an us and them situation. I believe if you look at what other countries have done, they have managed to roll out at a much greater pace. And we had the suggestion from some of the independent states that there should be the Dunkirk model, the small ships, labs all around the country being mobilised to do this.
But that's because they didn't, they said, when they gave evidence, didn't do that at the beginning.
Well, indeed, they should have done.
All right, well, let's go back to Camilla and Aisha. Listening to Barry there, Camilla, what's your response?
Well, I think Keir Starmer's trying to play quite a straight bat here, because the public perception generally is that the government has faced an unprecedented crisis, and that it was
unprecedented. They've all been brainwashed to use these words, haven't they?
In the face of this unprecedented pandemic.
Unprecedented.
I think some of the
it's unprecedented. The government's been faced with an unprecedented.
So there was some YouGov polling that was.
That's supposed to be a very tough, harsh word to convince the masses. You hear the word unprecedented, it gets bored into your head like it's being drilled in from a drill.
A vast majority in support, but generally in support of the direction of travel. And I think Starmer's going to look really cynical if he does start to pick holes.
All these words have been carefully chosen.
Johnson and Starmer over the whole schools issue, although one wonders whether the Prime Minister's got a leg to stand on when
sick of hearing the fucking word.
Theme parks remain open. But there is this sense that Starmer has sent his children to school throughout.
Social distancing and unprecedented.
The Labour leader supports schools being reopened, but not.
They've all used it.
That's a dilemma that Starmer's constantly going to have to grapple with as he takes the mantle from Jeremy Corbyn, who obviously would have always been on the side of the far left.
It's difficult, isn't it, for Keir Starmer? How should he play it, if you like, if that's not too flippant a phrase, in terms of trying to hold the government
to account? I don't know how long this is going on for, but
and yet
I'm gagging for a cup of tea, so I'm going to have to turn this off and go get a brew.
Well, I think what Keir Starmer has said from the start is that he wants to offer constructive opposition, and I think that is the right stance. He has faced some criticism.
So did the Ambanders all having a brew or something, innit? Made up some excuse, you might get a virus off the cup.
People trying to profiteer off the backs of a huge tragedy which has killed, thousands and thousands of people. So I think that is the right approach. But I think he's used particularly Prime Minister's questions quite effectively to ask important questions about testing, about the lack of PPE. I'm sure today he'll still stick on the issue. I mean, I know we've been talking about the antibody test, but we had a huge sort of embarrassment last week when there was an announcement that the app had not really taken off. And
don't forget, folks, we'll just add this before I turn it off.
I think what I would
resist the coming vaccine. Bill Gates' rushed out vaccine.
Nobody wants to see politicians like rolling around in the mud on this.
Resist it with your life.
And this is one of the most important and profound social and political moments we've had. It's not ignoble for the leader of the opposition and opposition.
Don't forget what Gates also said.
Questions when I said,
when he was asked about it,
so many families
it usually takes 5-6 years to produce a vaccine, but this one's supposedly being rushed out.
I don't want to be sort of like politics as usual, but that does not mean.
He says he was asked whether there be possible problems or something with the vaccine or something. Anyway, basically, Gates says, well, that's the trade-off we'll have to make. Well, that's the trade-off. I tell you something, you're a complete fool if you end up getting a vaccine where you're trading off your fucking life. Well, I'll have it on the basis it's the risk that I'm going to get rid of the coronavirus and I'll be healthy and safe, but I'm trading my life. That's what Gates basically said, it's a trade-off. I know it's same old bullshit there. I'm going to get a brew. Make of it what you will, as I say. Have a good day, folks.